Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our celebration of Sri Krishna's birthday. Just please note we are in a new audio-visual environment here. We are getting used to the equipment. So I hope everything's working properly, especially for those joining us via Zoom. Please send us a message if you, or alert us if there's some issue. We will start the program with group chanting of chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita and reading of the English meaning. The nuns will lead us in that. Then we'll have a talk by Swaminathan, Vishwanathan, and then there'll be a talk by Gayatriprana, and then that'll be followed by distribution of offered sweets and savouries. So thank you for those of you who so far who've come in person. We're expecting some more to arrive soon. But now I'll call on the nuns to come up and lead the chanting. And we've got copies here of chapter 7, which we'll pass around.
We start with the first verse of the meditation on Gita. It's not here. Those who know can join. Om Pathaya Pradibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grihitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayini Ambatvam Anusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshini. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Saktamana Partha Yogam Yunjanmadashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatha Nyasasi Tashrunu. The Blessed Lord said, with the mind intent on me, O son of Pritha, taking refuge in me and practicing yoga, how you shall without doubt know me fully, that you hear from me. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyamya sheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyonyat jnātavyam avashishyate. I shall tell you in full about theoretical knowledge along with experience, knowing which nothing more here will remain to be known. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschin mam vekti tattvataha. A few among thousands of men and women strive for perfection, and a few perchance among the blessed ones striving thus know me in reality. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kammano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakritirashtadha. Bhumi, earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intellect, and egoism. Thus is my Prakriti divided eightfold. Apareyamitastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. This is my lower Prakriti, but different from it. Know, O mighty armed, my higher Prakriti, the principle of intelligence or consciousness by which this manifested universe is sustained.
एतद्योनीनि भूतानि सर्वाणीत्युपधारय अहं कृष्णस्य जगतः प्रभव प्रलयस्तथा.
Know that these two prakritis are the womb of all beings. I am the origin and the solution of the whole universe.
मत्तः परतरं नान्यत् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोतं सूत्रे मणिगणा इव.
Beyond me, O Dhananjaya, there is nothing higher. All this is strung in me like a row of pearls on a thread.
रसोऽहमप्सु कौन्तेय प्रभास्मि शशिसूर्ययोः प्रणवः सर्ववेदेषु शब्दखे पौरुषं नृषु.
I am the sapid water, O son of Kunti. I am the radiance in the moon and the sun. I am Om in all the Vedas, sound in Akasha, and manhood in men of humanity.
पुण्यो गन्धः पृथिव्यां च तेजश्चास्मि विभावसौ जीवनं सर्वभूतेषु तपश्चास्मि तपस्विषु.
I am the sweet fragrance in earth and the brilliance in the fire am I. The life in all beings and the austerity am I in ascetics.
बीजं मां सर्वभूतानां विद्धि पार्थ सनातनं बुद्धिर्बुद्धिमतामस्मि तेजस्तेजस्विनामहम्.
Know me, O son of Pridha, as the eternal seed of all beings. I am the intellect of the intelligent and the heroism of the heroic.
बलं बलवतां चाहं कामरागविवर्जितं धर्माविरुद्धो भूतेषु कामोऽस्मि भरतर्षभ.
Of the strong and the strength, devoid of sensual desire and attachment. I am, O bull among the Bharatas, that sensual desire in beings, unopposed to dharma.
ये चैव सात्विका भावा राजसास्तामसाश्च ये मत्त एवेति तान् विद्धि न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि.
And whatever states pertaining to sattva and those pertaining to rajas and to tamas are there, know them to proceed from me alone. Still, I am not in them, but they are in me.
गुणमयैर्भावैरेभिः सर्वमिदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्.
Deluded by these states, which are the modifications of the three gunas of Prakriti, all this world does not know me, who is beyond them and is immutable.
दैवी हेषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते.
Verily, this Maya of mine, constituted of the gunas, is difficult to cross over. Those who devote themselves to me alone cross over this illusion.
नमां दुष्कृतिनो मूढा प्रपद्यन्ते नराधमाः माययापहृतज्ञाना आसुरं भावमाश्रिताः.
They do not devote themselves to me, the evildoers, the deluded, the lowest of men, deprived of discrimination by Maya, and following the ways of the asuras or evildoers.
चतुर्विधा भजन्ते मां जना सुकृतिनोऽर्जुन आर्तो जिज्ञासुरर्थार्थी ज्ञानी च भरतर्षभ.
Four kinds of virtuous human beings worship me, O Arjuna: the distressed, the seeker of knowledge, the seeker of wealth, and the spiritually wise, O bull among the Bharatas.
तेषां ज्ञाने नित्ययुक्त एकभक्तिर्विशिष्यते प्रियो हि ज्ञानिनोत्यर्थम् अहं स च मम प्रियः.
Of them, the jnani, the wise person, ever steadfast and fired with devotion to the one excels. For supremely dear am I to the jnani, and he or she also is dear to me.
उदारा सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी त्वात्मैव मे मतम् आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्तमां गतिम्.
Noble indeed are they all, but the jnani or wise person I regard as my very self. For with the mind steadfast, he or she is established in me alone as the supreme goal.
बहूनां जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेवः सर्वमिति समहात्मा सुदुर्लभः.
At the end of many births, the man or woman of jnana or wisdom takes refuge in me, realizing that all this is Vasudeva, Sri Krishna, or the one innermost self of all. Very rare is that great soul.
कामैस्तैस्तैर्हृतज्ञाना प्रपद्यन्त्यन्यदेवताः तं तं नियममास्थाय प्रकृत्या नियता स्वया.
Others again, deprived of discrimination due to this or that sensual desire, following this or that right, devote themselves to other mythical gods, led by their nature.
यो यो यां यां तनुं भक्त श्रद्धया चितुमिच्छति तस्य तस्याचलां श्रद्धां तामेव विदधाम्यहम्.
Whatsoever form any devotee seeks to worship with Shraddha, that Shraddha of his or her I make unwavering.
ततया श्रद्धया युक्तस्तस्याराधनमीहते लभते च ततः कामान् मयैव विहितान् हितान्.
Endued with that Shraddha, one engages in the worship of that, and from it gains one's desires, these being verily dispensed by me alone.
अन्तवत्तु फलं तेषां तद्भवत्यल्पमेधसां देवान् देवयजो यान्ति मद्भक्ता यान्ति मामपि.
But the fruit accruing to these men and women of little understanding is limited. The worshippers of the Devas go to the Devas, and my devotees come unto me.
अव्यक्तं व्यक्तिमापन्नं मन्यन्ते मामबुद्धयः परं भावमजानन्तो ममाव्ययमनुत्तमम्.
The foolish regard me, the unmanifested, as come into manifestation, not knowing my supreme state, which is immutable and transcendental.
नाहं प्रकाश सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढोऽयं नाभिजानाति लोको मामजमव्ययम्.
Veiled by the Yogamaya, illusion divine, I am not manifest to all. This deluded world knows me not, the unborn and the immutable.
वेदाहं समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्याणि च भूतानि मां तु वेद न कश्चन.
I know, O Arjuna, the beings of the whole past and present and the future, but none knows me.
इच्छाद्वेषसमुत्थेन द्वन्द्वमोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्गे यान्ति परन्तप.
By the delusion of the pairs of opposites, arising from desire and aversion, O descendant of Bharata, all beings fall into delusion at birth, O scorcher of foes. तेषां
त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ता भजन्ते मां दृढव्रताः.
Those men and women of virtuous deeds, whose sin has come to an end, they, freed from the twin delusions, worship me with steadfast devotion.
जरामरणमोक्षाय मामाश्रित्य यतन्ति ये ते ब्रह्म तद्विदुः कृत्स्नम् अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम्.
Those who taking refuge in me strive for freedom from old age and death, know Brahman and also the whole of Adhyatma and Karma in its entirety.
साधिभूताधिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च ये विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसः.
Those who know me along with the Adhibhuta, Adhideva, and Adhiyajna will continue to know me even at the time of death with a steadfast mind. Iti Jnana Vijnana Yogo Nama Saptamodhyaya. Thus ends the 7th chapter designated the way of knowledge with realization.
So next item in our program is a talk by Swaminathan, Vishwanathan. I will adjust this mic and I'll sit down. And I've had a preview of his talk and it's very well prepared, very well thought out. And I'm sure you're all going to really appreciate the time and effort he's put into this. So please come and give your talk sometime.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to show my respect and acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this meeting takes place. I would also like to pay my respects to elders, both past and present. Pranam Gayatriprana Mataji, Sridraprana Mataji, Mataji, Robert, friends and fellow devotees. Robert, I know him for the past almost a year, and I knew straight away that he is quite pure of heart and as devoted as Lord Hanuman. But I didn't realize a few weeks earlier that he is equally mischievous like Lord Hanuman. He came to me and said, on the occasion of Lord Krishna's birthday, why don't you just give a talk on Lord Krishna? Little did I know that this is a weighty topic. I'll try and do justice to it as best as I can. And if there are any blemishes, any stuttering, please, I do apologize in advance. This talk will be approximately of about 20 minutes, divided into 4 main segments. The first segment would be Sri Krishna, his advent, his life. The second, third, and fourth segments would be Sri Krishna according to the Holy Trio. Sri Ramakrishna, henceforth being called as the Master, Ma Sarada being called as Holy Mother, and Swami Vivekananda. So these are the 4 main segments that I'd be taking the lecture format on. But first, let's look at the meaning of the word Krishna. It is derived from the Sanskrit root Krishna, spelled in English as K-R-S-N-A, which literally means black, dark blue, or the all-attractive. Amongst the hundreds and thousands of gods that occupy the Hindu pantheon, avatars, literally in Sanskrit, descent or incarnations, are unique in that they portray an ideal to its highest manifestation or highest expression. Amongst those avatars, the Dashavatars or the 10 avatars are the primary avatars of the Lord Vishnu, a principal Hindu god. And amongst those Dashavatars, Sri Krishna is perhaps the most endearing of all the avatars. Lord Sri Krishna's birthday is celebrated every year on his birth star on the 8th day of the Bhadrapada month of the Hindu calendar. Bhadra begins with the sun's entry into Leo, and he was born midnight on the 8th day, or Ashtami, and hence the date of Sri Krishna's birthday is called Janmashtami, which falls in late August or early September, according to Gregorian or English calendar. I mentioned two dates, 18th and 19th of August, and that is because the first, Janmashtami, marks his physical birth. The following morning is marked as Gokulashtami. Lord Krishna was born in a prison cell in the North Indian town of Mathura, where his parents were incarcerated by his evil uncle Kamsa. In the middle of the night, Krishna's father, Vasudeva, jailbreaks his infant son and hands him over for safekeeping to an adoptive family in Gokul, hence the name Gokulashtami the following day. So Lord Krishna's birthday is celebrated across 2 days, and this year it happened to fall on the 18th and 19th of August. I also mentioned the term endearing to describe Lord Krishna, but let me describe more fully why he is so. Lord Krishna is unique in that from the time of his advent to his babyhood, to his childhood, boyhood, as an adult, as well as his position as an establisher of dharma or righteousness, at every stage, Krishna is worshipped. It is as if the devotees cannot have enough of his glory manifested as Krishna. To give you an example, Krishna is worshipped in southern Indian state of Kerala in Guruvayur as the majestic form of Vishnu as revealed to Krishna's parents, Vasudeva and Devaki. Krishna is worshipped in the Eastern Indian state of Odisha in Puri as the Jagannath Puri, along with his siblings Balaram and Subhadra. A small fun fact here, the word Jagannath is actually derived from this place, Jagannath. Why? Because there is a chariot festival in the city of Jagannath, where the wooden chariot is perhaps the height of this building, and hundreds and thousands throng to pull the chariot with the rope, and hence the meaning of the word Jagannath, which is unstoppable. Krishna is worshipped in northern Indian state in the foothills of Himalaya in Badrinath as Badrinarayan. Krishna is worshipped also in western Indian state of Gujarat in Dwarka as the Dwarkadhish or the king of Dwarka. So as you can see, he is adored and loved across all India in various manifestations and abroad. The other side of this equation is equally true, in that how perfectly Krishna fits in with various moods and attitudes of his devotee. A devotee could be following the path of selfless service or karma yoga, path of love or devotion, bhakti yoga, path of meditation, raja yoga, and path of knowledge or intellect, jnana yoga, all find their fulfillment in him. As a devotee or bhakta, I may want to have a relationship between myself and my personal God in the following bhavas or attitudes or emotions. It could be Shanta Bhava, which is calm, peaceful, saintly attitude. It could be Dashya Bhava, the attitude of devotion, such as Hanuman to Rama. It could be Shakya Bhava, the attitude of a friend. Arjuna, the warrior prince, being friend to Krishna. Vatsalya Bhava, the attitude of a mother towards her child, like Yashoda to baby Krishna or baby Christ also being adored in a similar fashion, is called Vatsalya Bhava. And finally, Madhura Bhava, the attitude of a woman in love. This is exemplified by Sri Krishna's consort, Radha, and her lust-free love of Krishna. This mood or bhava, which is Madhura Bhava, is the sum total of all other moods plus something more. I will pause here and just quickly mention that this is not unique to Indian culture, but it is also found in Byzantine Catholic Christians as well, though uncommon. For example, nuns in the Christian theology, in the Byzantine Catholic denomination, consider themselves as brides of Christ, with their taking monastic vows regarded as a marriage to Christ, and keeping their vows as being faithful to that divine husband. A notable promoter of that interpretation was Gertrude the Great, a highly influential Christian mystic of the 13th century, and her practice is called nuptial mysticism. So this is a close approximation to Madhura Bhava. It is lust-free and considered the epitome or the culmination of all the bhavas. So Krishna accommodates everyone. With this as the background, let's have an insight on how the Holy Trinity, Master, Holy Mother, and Swami Vivekananda perceived or had a vision of Sri Lord Krishna. Firstly, Sri Ramakrishna, Master. When Master came from Kamarpukur to Dakshineshwar, his first role was to officiate as a priest in the Radhakanta temple in the year 1885. Again, a fun fact, if one looks at the photo that we all pray to, which is the yogic posture of Sri Ramakrishna, was actually shot, that photo was actually taken just outside the northwestern veranda of the Radhakanta temple, that we all pray in our homes looking at that photo. Master, whenever a spiritual mood arose in his one-pointed mind, that mood would fully occupy his mind, eradicating all else. Knowing that the vision of Lord Krishna is not possible without Radha's grace, the Master began to worship her with this one-pointed mind. He remained absorbed in meditation on her loving form and prayed to her unceasingly with a longing heart. As a result, he was soon blessed with the vision of Radha. Over time, Master felt he was Radha. After that vision, all signs of Mahabhava, which is the culmination of Madhura Bhava, manifested in him as they had in Radha. When the Master's love for Lord Krishna or God as beloved was purified and intensified, he had the vision of Sachinananda Krishna. The form of Krishna merged into his body. I will conclude the present segment by describing one of Master's visions that took place. One day, while he was listening to the reading of the Bhagavata in the front hall of the Vishnu temple in Dakshineshwar, he went into ecstasy and saw the resplendent form of Sri Krishna. Next, a beam of light, like a cord, came forth from Krishna's feet and first touched the Bhagavata, the book, and then the Master's chest, connecting all three for some time. After this vision, Master was firmly convinced that God, his devotee, and scriptures that are his words are in reality one and the same, though they appear to be different. Master used to say, the Bhagavata, the devotee, and God, these three are one, and the one manifests as three. I'll move to the second segment, which is Sri Krishna according to Ma Sharda or Holy Mother. It is said that pilgrims make a holy place. Holy Mother wanted to forget her raw grief and the pain of separation from Sri Ramakrishna's death in 1886. 2 weeks after the Master's death, Holy Mother and her entourage left for pilgrimage almost exactly 134 years ago on August 30th, 1886. Today, it is August 28th, almost exactly 134 years ago. Holy Mother and her retinue arrived at Vrindavan. Vrindavan holds a very sacred place in Krishna's devotees' minds and heart. It is the playground of Lord Krishna's childhood, Vrindavan. Master had visited Vrindavan in 1868 and experienced visions relating to various episodes of Krishna's life. At Vrindavan, Holy Mother was often in the mood of Radha and had many spiritual experiences. We have read in the Bhagavata how the gopis, unable to bear separation from Krishna, became so deeply absorbed in the thought of him that they forgot their own individualities and behaved as though they were Krishna. In the same manner, Holy Mother too forgot her own separate existence and acted just like the Master in Vrindavan, feeling her oneness with him. A great transformation came over Holy Mother after that experience in Vrindavan. All her sorrow, grief, and feeling of separation from Master vanished, and a serene, blissful mood took their place. Holy Mother was then in such a blissful state of mind that at times her yearning for Krishna's presence and her utterance of his name with intense love reminded her entourage of Radha. Vrindavan is also the place where Holy Mother for the first time began her spiritual ministry and initiation. Her first initiation was to Jogin, Swami Yogananda. Again, a fun fact. Swami Yogananda, Sri Ramakrishna used to call in his previous birth as Arjuna himself. So imagine how the dots are connecting this way. Ma Sharda commencing her ministry and the first initiation, spiritual initiation is done to Jogin Swami Yogananda, who in his earlier birth was the warrior prince Arjuna. It is at Vrindavan, Holy Mother prayed to Lord Krishna or Radha Raman to take away our fault-finding nature and that she never sees other people's blemishes. I'll move to the next segment now, which is Sri Krishna according to Swami Vivekananda. Here, I think it is best I just simply reproduce what Swami Vivekananda spoke about Sri Krishna without sullying it. And I quote, "There is a great deal of similarity between the lives of Jesus and Krishna. There was a tyrannical king in both places. Both were born in a manger. The parents were bound in both cases. Both were saved by angels. In both cases, all the boys born in that year were killed. The childhood is the same. Again, in the end, both were killed. Krishna was killed by accident. He took the man who killed him to heaven. Christ was killed and blessed the robber and took him to heaven. This was the great work of Krishna. to clear our eyes and make us look with broader vision upon humanity in its march upward and onward. His, Lord Krishna's, was the first heart that was large enough to see truth in all. His, the first lips that uttered beautiful words for each and all. In Krishna, we find two ideas stand supreme in his message. The first is the harmony of different ideas. As Sri Ramakrishna said, harmony of all religions. And the second is non-attachment. A man can attain to perfection, the highest goal, sitting on a throne, commanding armies, working out big plans for nations. In fact, Krishna's great sermon was preached on the battlefield. Krishna saw plainly through the vanity of all the mummeries, mockeries, and ceremonials of the old priests. And yet, he saw some good in them. Independent, Krishna stands out. The very boldness of it frightens us. We depend upon everything, upon a few good words, upon circumstances. But Krishna, when the soul wants to depend upon nothing, not even upon life, that is the height of philosophy, the height of manhood. Worship leads to the same goal. Krishna lays great stress upon worship. Worship God. He who is worshipped in various forms, the favorite ideal of men as well as women, the ideal of children as well as of grown-up men. He whom the writer of the Bhagavata was not content to call an incarnation, but says, and I quote, the other incarnations were but parts of the Lord. He, Krishna, was the Lord himself. He who in the midst of intense activity finds himself in the greatest calmness and in the greatest peace finds intense activity, that is the greatest yogi as well as the wisest man. Outside, unquote, outside of the visible expression of our devotion, perhaps we are all indebted the most for his magnificent and glorious teaching contained in the Gita, or the Gospel, the Song of God, or it's also called the Celestial Song. In the end, Krishna is considered in India as the harmonizer of religions. He is everything to everyone. And I would be remiss in not quoting one of his most astounding utterings, which was played as a title card to the TV serial about 34 years ago back in India, in the late 80s. The TV serial was Mahabharata. And this utterings was part of the title card before the program actually commenced. And every weekend, it was a weekly program, entire country used to stop. And you can imagine stopping country like India with so much of population and whatnot. But this uttering truly encapsulates what Krishna is. And I quote, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyattana adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sangasthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. The meaning of this sloka is, whenever there is a decay of righteousness, O Bharata, and there is exaltation of unrighteousness, then I myself come forth. For the protection of the good, for the destruction of evildoers, for the sake of firmly establishing righteousness, I am born from age to age. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Swaminathan, for a beautiful talk, well prepared, well thought out. And you've done such a good job. We'll have to get your services in future for other talks now. We'll now invite Gayatriprana to give her talk.
Thank you. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. I salute Lord Krishna, the world teacher, the son of Vasudeva, the destroyer of Kamsa and Chanura, and the supreme bliss of Devaki. The Upanishads describe Brahman, the ultimate reality, as Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. It also describes Brahman as sweetness. It says, Raso Vaisaha. He or it is indeed sweetness. The jnani, following the method of neti neti, not this, becomes immersed in samadhi and at last realizes union with Brahman. I am that, aham brahmasmi. The karma yogi follows the path of action, strives to receive God's grace through unattached action, performance of action without any attachment. The Raja Yogi seeks union with the individual soul with the Supreme Soul. But none of them have a loving relation with the God. Only the Bhakta, the devotee, establishes a loving relationship with God in order to serve Him and enjoy His sweetness. And that happens when God takes a human form. Without a human form, we won't be able to establish a relationship with God. And among all the incarnations of God that we know of, we see the sweet play of God mainly in the incarnation of Krishna. We don't see much in the life of Rama. We don't know much about Rama as a child. See, the sweetness comes as a child, not as a grown-up. Grown-up person we admire, we enjoy, but not the sweet relationship comes only with the child. And we don't know much about anything about childhood of Rama or Buddha, not much. We know Buddha saved an injured bird and actually argued with his cousin that the bird belongs to the one who saves, not the one who takes the life. And or Jesus, of course we know Jesus, he sat among the scholars and discussed the points of theology. What about Sri Ramakrishna? Sri Ramakrishna's childhood, we know he acted as Krishna, as Shiva on the Shivaratri day. Then he played with his friends in the mango grove and enacted the dramas that he saw. There is one, his mischief, we can see one incident we read in his life. There was one family, Pine family. The master of the family thought that the women should not go out, should be kept inside to protect their chastity. That was that gentleman's idea. And the little boy Gadadhar didn't think that is the right way to keep the morality or keep the maintained chastity. And this gentleman boasted that no male outside his family has ever seen any of the women of his household. So Gadadhar took up as a challenge. One day, a few days later, one day he mentioned that, oh, I can easily go in your in apartments. And that was a challenge to thrown to this man. A few days later, towards the evening, a lady came, a village lady, with her basket, and came to the courtyard in the front yard, and where the master of the house was sitting, and said, oh, I came to the market to sell the things. It is too late to go back to my village. I would like to spend the night here. And he asked a few questions, and the lady gave the answer. He said, all right, go inside. And so the lady with her basket went to the inner apartment and sat in a corner quietly. Then it became dark, and Gadadhar hasn't returned home. So the elder brother started walking to the path of the village, calling, Gadai, Gadai, where are you? After some time came the reply from the inner apartment, brother, I am here. And out ran the lady with the basket, that Gadadhar. So with that one incident, we hear about Sri Ramakrishna's babyhood, childhood, but nothing compared to what we read about Sri Krishna. In the Bhagavatam, we read so much about Sri Krishna's childhood pranks, whatever things, his extraordinary actions, that just by hearing Bhagavatam brings to mind the story of the life of Sri Krishna. It's not that Bhagavatam describes only Krishna's life. Bhagavatam describes all the 10 incarnations of Vishnu. And there is a lot of genealogy of the different dynasties, all that are there. But we don't remember all that. The moment you hear Bhagavatam, we remember Krishna. Bhagavatam is associated with Krishna in our minds usually. And the Bhagavatam describes the childhood years of Sri Krishna, that he spent in the beautiful, peaceful setting of Vrindavan among the simple-minded, pure-hearted cowherd and their women, playing with their children, tending cows on the banks and the pastures and the nearby forests, all that we hear. And the pranks that Krishna, along with his friends, played on the gopis, the cowherdesses, form the theme of many, many songs, dances, poems, plays, and fascinates the people even now, after more than 5,000 years. Now the question may come, how could the infinite, eternal, imperishable reality become a human being? If it then is confined within a limited human body. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives the answer. Ajopi san avveyatma bhutanam isharopi san prakritim swam adhisthaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Though I am unborn, of changeless nature, and Lord of all beings, yet subjugating my prakriti or divine nature, I am born by my own Maya. The Lord takes a human form by his own Maya. So outwardly, he looks just like ordinary people. There is no difference externally. Just like any other ordinary person, but inwardly, it has got infinite dimensions, which ordinary people cannot see or understand. That's the true nature of incarnation. What's the difference between an incarnation and ordinary people? An incarnation of God and us. The incarnation is Lord of Maya. Maya is subject to his wish, whereas we are under the control of Maya. Using his Maya, Keeping it under his control, he takes a human form. He decides where he will be born, who are his parents, how long he will live on this earth. All he decides, because Maya is under his control, whereas we have no choice. In the Gita, again, Shri Krishna says, Avasam Prakriti Vasyas. We are just pushed out. But we don't have any choice. We don't have a choice who our parents are going to be, when we are going to be born, how long we will live on this earth. We don't have a choice. It's all destined for us or decided for us. Whereas Avatara incarnation, he decides everything, what he will do. And again, he is fully conscious of his purpose in this, of taking a human form. Why he has come to this earth, what's the for what purpose he is coming here. He is fully conscious of the mission in his life. At the same time, behaves and acts like any other human being. That's what we see in the life of Sri Krishna. Krishna's life can be divided into two parts. The early days he spent in Vrindavan as the darling of the cowherds, and the later part of his life, once he left Vrindavan, his role as the kingmaker. He never became a king. He was always a kingmaker. He destroyed or removed the evil doers, the tyrants, kings, but he never became assumed the position of a king himself. So these are the two parts of Krishna's life, the pastoral Krishna and the kingmaker Krishna. But today I'll be dealing more with the pastoral part of his life. God has 6 powers, Bhaga. That's why he is called Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the one with Bhaga. Bhaga's powers. There are 6 powers. They are splendor, strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, and renunciation. These are the 6 bhagas. Splendor, strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, and renunciation. Some of the devotees are fascinated by these powers of God, by the splendor of God. So they look up, they care for that. That's the aspect they like. There are some other devotees who does not care for these powers at all. They look upon him as their child or friend or beloved, and then thus remain immersed in the sweetness of God. When you look at the splendor, the power of God, greatness of God, we keep a distance. We are in awe of that personality. But when there is just sweetness, pure love, God becomes our own. That is what the relation the cowherds of Vrindavan had with Krishna. When there is that sweetness is there, they do not even notice the powers and glories. The cowherds and their women witnessed many acts of Krishna's power and glory. They saw soon after his birth, he started showing his glory, starting with killing the demoness Putana, and then so many demons he killed. Demons who are maybe more than 1,000 times his strength, big size. With ease he killed them. Or lifting the Govardhan Mount and protecting the whole village from the wrath of Indra. Indra, because Krishna asked them not to worship Indra, Indra got so annoyed, angry. So he wanted to teach them a lesson. And he was going to inundate the whole of Vrindavan. And Krishna protected them. These villagers saw all that, all these great powers. But at the same time, they didn't care for that. For them, he was this child. Not just Nanda and Yashoda, his foster parents, but for all the cowherds and the cowherdesses, the gopas and the gopis. Krishna was like their child. And for the boys and girls, their friend and the beloved. And Krishna responded to them in the same way. Whatever be their attitude they had, Krishna, the child Krishna responded to them in this exactly in the same way. So in the Gita, we see Krishna saying, Eyadhamam prapadyante tam sadhaiva bhajamiham. Whosoever worship me through whatsoever path, I verily accept them and bless them in that way. Whatever be that your attitude, he responds in the same way, exactly in the same way. God comes to the devotee in the way we like. So we can say, we make the form of God that we love. What is the form of God exactly? The form that you like. Whatever form you like, God comes to you in that form, exactly in that form. Because God is completely under the control of the devotee. That's why there's a saying, Krishna attributed to Krishna, he says, I am happy to give liberation, moksha, but think twice about giving bhakti, devotion. Because if you have got devotion, God comes under the control of the devotee. God has to listen to whatever the devotee asks. If the devotee wants God to be a child, God has to become a child. We said, you see that later in the life of Krishna, it seems that one day Hanuman was visiting Dwaraka. Now, Hanuman is the greatest devotee of Sri Rama. He won't be happy with anything other than seeing the form of Rama. So Krishna had to assume the form of Rama. And he asked Rukmini, the queen, to assume the form of Sita, because unless he see the form of Rama and Sita, Hanuman won't be satisfied. So God has to take the form of the form that devotee wants to see. So he is completely under the control of the devotee. You can see that God, whose single glance removes all the bondage of worldly existence, was tied up to a mortar with a piece of rope by his mother. Isn't it such a fascinating thing? You think it is impossible. How can somebody tie up God? Yes, it happened in the life of Krishna that we see that. Because of her intense love for Krishna, Yashoda, the foster mother, was able to tie him up. Before going into the story in detail, I'll just mention, we see a similar story connected with Kuru Rama, a great devotee of Lord Krishna from Kerala. Actually, our Mataji is one of the descendants. Her Mataji's father is a descendant of this great saint. She was a child widow, and her chosen deity was child Krishna. And actually, she used to see a little boy coming and helping her in all the work, helping with preparation for puja. As a Orthodox Brahmin widow, she wouldn't go out in front of people and all that. So this little boy who used to do everything for her. And when she asked, who are you? He said, oh, I am just from this village. And he gave the name, oh, my name is Krishna. One day he became so naughty, after a few days, so very familiar with this lady, became so naughty that she had to, as a punishment, she pushed him into an empty earthen jar. They have these huge earthen jars which we usually use for making pickles. This was an empty one, unused one. And she pushed him into that and put the lid on for a short time. She stayed there. And there another devotee, great devotee, was worshipping, and every day God in person used to come and accept his worship, especially the food offering. And the worship is going, God is not coming. What's the matter? After some time, he came running, all covered with cobwebs and everything. What is this? Oh, Kururama pushed me into the chair and closed me. That is, with the love, intense love of the devotee, God becomes under their control. Now, one day, Yashoda, the foster mother of Krishna, was churning butter. Krishna was only, say, 2 or 3 years old, not more than that. And Krishna was hungry, he wanted to drink milk. So Yashoda was suckling him, and then she found that the milk is boiling over in the kitchen, so she put him down and went to take the pot out. That much made him angry. And the Bhagavatam describes, angry at this, child Krishna's eyes became red, his lips trembled, and he began to bite his lips. See, the Lord, who has got all his senses under his control, he is called Krishna, who is the one who has got all his senses under his control. He got so angry, he's overcome by anger because he was hungry, because his hunger was not satiated. He then took a stone roller, broke the churning pot, and let go all of its contents. With make-believe stage tears in his eyes, see, he's a great actor. With make-believe stage tears in his eyes, he repaired to a solitary place in the interior of the house, where he sat eating a lump of butter that he took from the stove. See, these are all the pictures for meditation. Those devotees who meditate on child Krishna, these are all images for meditation. Now Yashoda came back after putting the pot down from the fireplace, and the scene she saw is broken pot, the buttermilk, everything is flowing out. Krishna nowhere to be seen. She knew who did this, but her love was so much that she didn't get angry with him, but at the same time, he wanted to teach him a lesson, because she has been getting constant complaint from the other women of Vrindavan that he goes there, undo the calves so that they go and drink the milk, or take their butter and steal their butter, eating, and more than eating, feeding the monkeys. So he wanted to teach them a lesson, and took a stick and found him sitting there, went to him. Seeing, and what was Krishna doing at the time? He was feeding monkeys with all the butter. Seeing mother coming, Yashoda coming, the monkeys ran away, and seeing the monkeys running away, he turned around and found mother standing behind with a stick. So he ran away in fear. The Lord, who is the giver of fearlessness, running away in fear of mother. And so Shukadeva in the Bhagavatam, he says, the mother followed him whom even the yogi's mind, well prepared by practice and austerity, fails to reach without his grace. The great yogis who have been practicing devotion, austerity for years and years, constantly, fail to reach him. And that reality is running away, and mother is going behind him. He is the indweller of all beings, but very few are able to catch him. That Brahman, taking a human form and sporting as Krishna, Yashoda is trying to catch him. Yes, she was able to. And Krishna is running away in fear. That is the wonderful play, the sweet play of Krishna. Now, in order to, Yashoda caught up with him, took hold of his hand And in order to take him, stop him from further mischief, decided to tie him to a mortar on which he was sitting and feeding the monkeys earlier. So Yashoda brought a piece of rope and tried to tie him down. It's a small child, it's easy to tie, but she found that the rope is a little small, 2 inches less smaller. So she brought another piece of string, added to it, and tried to tie him again. Again, she found it's little less, 2 inches less. It went on. She brought all the ropes and strings in the house. She brought, added. Still, there was a 2-inch gap. She could not bind. Here, seeing all this, the other ladies came and they were standing and watching the Yashoda's predicament. That she's trying, going and bringing again and again, not able to tie him up. And she was perspiring, she was getting frustrated, she was getting tired. Seeing the mother getting tired, Krishna took pity on her, compassionate. And immediately she was able to bind him. See, the Lord who is freeing every human being who takes refuge in him from bondage is bound by Yashoda. That shows how much love she had, pure love, without any desire. That's the pure love is what Lord wants from us. He allowed himself to be bound. That is why Krishna tells Uddhava, the great devotee, Uddhava, you cannot attain me through practice of yoga, renunciation, performance of sacrifice, study of Vedas, charity, and so on. These are the things we usually try to attain God. Practice yoga practices, renunciation, sacrifice, scriptural studies, giving in alms, charity. We think that we'll attain God through all this. He says, no, I can be attained only through pure devotion, pure love. That's the only way to attain God. Now, once he is tied to the mortar, what happened? Yashoda thought he is safe. Now she can go and do her work, whatever household work to be done. And you think that Krishna is going to sit there quietly? He started crawling, dragging the mortar along with him. Now, in the courtyard, there were 2 huge trees, close to each other. Now, he dragged the mortar towards there, and he was able to go through. As the mortar reached there, and he crawled through the gap, it fell in the horizontal position and got stuck. Now, it won't go further. He pulled hard. And once he pulled hard, the 2 trees just fell down. Can you imagine Krishna, the child, pulling at the mortar and 2 huge trees falling down at the same time? From the tree, as the trees fell down, 2 radiant demigods emerged from that. They saluted, he praised Krishna and left, taking his permission. Now, hearing the crashing sound of the trees, Nanda and the other menfolk came running. What happened? Maybe some other, so many demons are coming to the village after Krishna's coming. So maybe another demon has come. They came running. They found these 2 huge trees fallen down, and Krishna tied to the mortar, sitting there. They wondered what happened. How did these trees fall? Then the other boys who were there, they said, no, Krishna pulled the mortar and then the trees fell and the 2 radiant beings emerged and they saluted, they praised Krishna and all that. They could not believe. How can a child pull down the 2 huge trees? That's not possible. At the same time, they thought so many things have happened. Maybe the children are speaking the truth. Now, we also may wonder, how could a child 2 or 3 years old can pull down huge trees. Or for that matter, kill huge demons and all that. In the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali speaks about the powers that a person can get through concentration of mind. He says, Veleshu hasti veladini. By concentrating on any kind of strength, such as that of an elephant, one obtains that strength. You concentrate your mind on anything. Power of concentration. It's to show the power of concentration. You concentrate on your mind on any particular thing, you get many powers. So if you concentrate your mind on the strength of something, say strength of an elephant, strength of a lion, you get that strength. If an ordinary person who is an adept in yoga can get this power, then what about Krishna, who is Yogeshwara and Yogeshwara, who is the Lord of Yoga and who is the Lord of Yogis? It's no wonder that he was able to do all these things. And as he grew a little older, Krishna went to tend calves along with his brother Balarama and other boys in the forest of Vrindavan. One day, a demon, the form of a python, came to attack them. So what the python did was, huge python, so remained near the forest on side of a mountain hill with its mouth open. The boys playing around saw that, oh, this is a new cave. We haven't noticed this cave. Let's go inside and explore it. Krishna realized that it is a python, but before he could warn the boys, they all went inside. Now, he knew that going inside, they all will be killed. So he wanted to save them. So he also got inside. And the moment the boys along with Krishna was inside the mouth, the python closed its mouth. Now they are all trapped. Many of the children got so frightened, out of fright, and from the poison, some of them died. And what is Krishna going to do? Krishna enlarged his body to such an extent that he broke the body and came of the python, and he came out and brought all the other boys out and revived them. The gods were so surprised. So they were singing praises of him. Hearing all this, Brahma, the Lord of creation, wanted to see the sweet play of Krishna. So he came and he also saw all this happening. Then he got a doubt. Is it really possible? So he wanted to test Krishna. Now, after they came out of the mouth of the python, the boys, they were all hungry. It's like noon, it's lunchtime, let's have some meal. So they all sat around and everybody opened their lunch packet that the parents had packed and share everything. And as they were having the meal, suddenly they found, what happened to the calves? We can see the calves. The boys got frightened. Krishna said, don't worry, I'll go and search for them. You continue with your meal. So he had rice mixed with yogurt in one hand. And with that, holding it in one hand, he started searching for the calves. Now, what happened to the calves? Brahma wanted to test Krishna. So he hid the calves. He removed the calves from there by his Maya and hid them in a cave, put them to sleep. So Krishna went around looking for the calves. He couldn't find. In the meantime, Brahma took the boys also. He came back, the boys are also not there. What happened? Both the cows and the boys missing. What happened? He searched for here and there for some more time. Then he just concentrated his mind and realized what happened. He found out Krishna, Brahma is the culprit. All right, you wanted to test me with your Maya. See now. So he, with his Maya, he produced the calves and the cowherd boys out of himself. He did not want to go home and tell the parents that your boys are all missing. And another thing, he wanted to sweeten the lives of the cowherds and the cowherdesses and the cows. See, all of them had great intense love for Krishna, that they wanted Krishna as their child. When usually every day when they come back from the pasture with the calves, the ladies will be waiting there at the entrance to the village. As soon as they see the boys, they all will embrace Krishna first and then their own child, because they wanted Krishna as their child. Now he wanted to fulfill that desire of all those people. And the cows also wanted Krishna as their child. He wanted to fulfill all that. So out of himself, he created the cowherd boys and the calves. And he also thought in one go, he'll fulfill the desire of everybody. And Brahma wanted to see the bliss of the sweetness of Krishna. That also be fulfilled. Let him see more of my play. So by his Maya, he made all this out of himself. And in the evening, they all went back to the village. The people of Vrindavan had no idea that their children are missing. They saw their children coming. But strangely that day, instead of going and hugging Krishna, they all went and hugged their own children. And the cows also, as soon as they saw the cows coming, they all ran to them and started licking. Usually it is all reserved for Krishna. And this went on for almost a year. And Balarama, who had not gone that day with Krishna, was wondering, what is this? What's the magic? Is something is Krishna's play? Otherwise, why this sudden love for these cowherds for Krishna, for their children, which they had shown to Krishna earlier? So he asked Krishna, what's the matter? What did you do? So he had to tell them. But nobody else knew. Now what happened to Brahma? After a few moments, Brahma came. After a few moments, remember? It was almost a year in given term, but a few moments of Brahma's time. And he saw Krishna playing with the other cowherd boys and the cows grazing. What is this? So he went and checked where he had kept the boys and the calves. They are still in the sleep of his yoga or under his Maya. They're still asleep. Now, which is the genuine set and which is the fake set? He got confused. Brahma came to confuse Krishna with his Maya. Now, Brahma is confused by his Maya. Then, after a moment, he saw all the cowherd boys, the calves, all as Krishna, blue in with a peacock. Then, next moment, they all disappeared, and he saw the little Krishna going round, searching for the boys and the calves, holding bowl of rice. Completely confused, bewildered, where are they? So he is seeing all these things one after another, Brahma. Then he realized he thought he was the all the second set of the boys and the cows all got absorbed in Krishna, and the other set they all came. Now the boys did know that they had all this happened. They found Krishna coming back, searching. They found the cows, and they all came back and then continued with the meal. And in the evening, which we went back to. Now again, with the doubt may arise, how could Krishna create the thought out of his own mind, out of his own mind? Again, we can see the answer in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali says that a yogi can create as many individuals as he likes out of himself and enjoy several things simultaneously with them, but they are all fully dependent upon him and in no way different from him. That's the power of the yogi. Yogi can create with his mind, with his ego, the number of people, number of other minds, other egos, as many egos as he wants, he can create. But they are all dependent on him. They don't have any independence. Other beings that created by him, they are fully dependent on him. The yogi can create. So what's a surprise that Krishna could do that? In the Gita, we see Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, we say, Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratya. Mamevaye prapadyande mayam etam tarantite. We chanted just a few minutes ago. This is from the 7th chapter. Krishna says, my divine Maya, constituted of the 3 gunas, is difficult to overcome. Whoever takes refuge in me alone, in utter devotion, overcomes it. That's Maya is so difficult to overcome. Brahma came to confuse just Krishna with his Maya, and he in turn was overcome by Krishna's Maya. And who can overcome that Maya? Those who take refuge in him. Completely surrendering to the Lord, take refuge in him, they will be able to overcome that Maya. And again, we see in the Bhagavad Gita, Ananya Cheta Satatam Yo Mam Smarati Nityasaha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nitya Yuktasya Yoginaha. I am easily attainable by that ever steadfast yogi who remembers me constantly and daily with a single mind. See, I am easily attainable by the ever steadfast yogi who remembers me constantly and daily. That was the state of Yashoda and all the people of Vrindavan. So even though they saw all this, the different powers of Krishna, the Maya of Krishna, they were not overcome because they had Krishna, they had the grace of the Lord. They who witnessed and participated in the divine sport, but by his grace, they were able to overcome Maya and gain union with him. So we also pray that he shower his grace on us and protect us, save us from his divine Maya. Thank you.
We have the yoga class coming up this Thursday from 10 a.m. here in Vedanta Hall. On Friday night, we have the fortnightly Bhagavad Gita discussion led by Gayatriprana. And tomorrow night, Pravrajika Aloka Pranaji will be joining us. from Calcutta. She's very involved with running the Matri Bhavan Maternity Hospital, Sri Sarada Mat's Hospital in Calcutta, and she's coming here for a few weeks. We do hope she might be able to join in for the discussion on Friday night. We're also hoping, I'm saying hoping, she's just not entirely well at the moment, but we also hope on the 11th of September, the Sunday, that she and Sri Gayatriprana will share anecdotes about Sri Sarada Mat and talk about Sri Sarada Mat's activities. It'd be a very good opportunity to know more about Sri Sarada Mat. So have a nice session with them on the Sunday morning of the 11th of September. Next Sunday, we have the Raja Yoga talk. I believe it'll be the last one. So Gayatriprana will be concluding the series of monthly talks on the Raja Yoga. So do hope you can join us for that. We have donation plate and donation box. And we also have, for those of you here in person, we've got some offered sweets and savouries for you to share. And we will be having, for the members, we have the meeting, the AGM. So please stay back for that a little bit later this afternoon. And thank you to those joining us via Zoom, as always, and look forward to, well, I believe everything's run smoothly with our new audio visual set up, so I'm feeling relieved about that. Thanks for joining us.